This is part 8 in a series of videos on how weird the Marvel Universe would be if John F. Kennedy was assassinated in 1946. In 1962, the superhero the Blue Marvel got in a fight with Anti-Man and his mask was torn, revealing to the world that he was African American. In Earth 616, some higher-ups in the US government figured out his civilian identity, Adam Brashear. They saw a black man having as much power as he did as a bit of a problem, and they asked him to quietly retire, which he did. But in this world, just a little earlier in 62, a crazy telepathic mutant, or so most of the world thinks, tried to take over a military base, and the whole world collectively messed their pants. That has a hand in the Brashear of this reality saying, "This world needs me, I can't quietly retire." No big deal, right? Well, the Earth 616 Brashear went to sulk on the moon, and he and the Watcher had front row seats to an almost alien invasion. Brashear was able to move a meteor the size of Arkansas, which is a lot, and if this alien ship was able to hurt him, it would have been pretty bad for the people of Earth if somebody wasn't on the moon and saw these guys coming, right? While this world has seen alien invasions before, the Brood thousands of years ago, multiple Skrull incursions, the Martians a couple of times, it's all either been hushed up or forgotten. But the alien invasion of 1962, while it didn't last long, it's this alternate Earth's first taste of "we're not alone," and that is terrifying. You might say, "Hey, clown, I watched your video about Matt Murdock becoming an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. At least I hope you're saying that. In that video, Elektra Natchios replaces Nick Fury as the man on the wall, or woman on the wall, the person who topples empires and assassinates aliens who pose a threat to Earth. Where was Elektra when this was going on? We could ask, where was Nick Fury when this invasion almost happened on Earth 616? Maybe Elektra is on Snark World, stopping a civil war from spilling over into our corner of space. I count 15 ships in this armada, although there could be more. We don't know the objective of this invasion. Study humans like lab rats? Kidnap them for labor? I've mentioned before, the people of Kalahia were sending radio waves to Mars, which more than likely brought hostile aliens to Earth. Maybe these guys heard we repelled Skrulls, Martians, and Brood, oh my, and thought they should try to wipe us out before we went into space ourselves. I imagine their goal would be to wipe out the most populated cities for a start. While the Blue Marvel of Earth 616 was able to stop these ships alone, in this reality, he's also dealing with damage control. But there are other heroes doing their part. This world's X-Men are still licking their wounds from their fight with Franz Stahl, but they're ready to fight. Tad Carter has telepathy and coordinates other heroes in their attacks. Tad isn't as strong as the late Charles Xavier, but he can sense where the aliens are attacking and sends Magneto, Thor, and Sentry to deal with other ships around the world. Canadian superhuman Rutherford Princeton III comes to New York's defense, and Tad convinces him there are others who can save New York and sends him to deal with another one of the ships as well. Tad calls high school students Peter Parker and Cindy Moon, who got their powers earlier this year. We don't know how much time passed between Cindy getting bitten and finding out she had powers, but Peter found out minutes later, so I assume it wasn't too long before Cindy did as well. We're not told when Ezekiel Sims took Cindy away. Let's assume this invasion happens in that narrow window between Cindy discovering her powers and Ezekiel hiding her away. While Peter's already had his great power, great responsibility moment, Cindy is hesitant to jump into an alien invasion like this. Tad and Peter still convince her to fight, but she's not quite as eager as everyone else. Days after Peter got his powers, one of his classmates was in a car accident which put her in a coma. In another world, she came out of her coma 6 months later, was adopted by the Jones family, and eventually became the superhero Jewel. But Tad says we don't have time to wait and wakes Jessica Campbell up. Xavier maybe could have done this, but he would have been afraid to tug on that string. Tad wakes Jessica up, but she's going to have some serious problems she'll need to work through thanks to Tad. We have members of the First Line, active between the Golden Age and the Fantastic Four getting their powers. They're still around, they'll be helping on the ground. And you've got S.H.I.E.L.D., they're an international task force, they're doing their best in the cities Tad wasn't able to cover with the heroes he sent out. While the other big guns can bring a ship away from inhabited areas, our New York team can't quite do that. Banshee's powerful enough to destroy the ship, but bringing it to the ground safely is a little out of his hands. So Tad says, "Get me up there, I can read the mind of the pilot and get the ship down, but I'll need cover." Banshee and Toro get Peter, Cindy, Jessica, and Tad to the ship, while what's left of the X-Men will stay with the ground forces. Tad guides them while the others protect him. They get to the bridge of the ship, Tad reads the mind of the pilots and thinks he can take the ship down safely into the ocean. And just when all seems well, one of the aliens who wasn't quite as unconscious as our heroes thought tries to kill Tad when he sees what Tad is doing. But Peter senses the attack and takes a bullet for Tad, as he's the only one who can get the ship down. This shakes everyone up. They were so close, and one of them, especially one so young, gets killed. But it especially shakes up Cindy, who felt a kinship with Peter she didn't quite understand. Despite their loss, Tad is able to land the ship safely and is getting mental reports from the others that the aliens are starting to pull out, possibly from the huge losses they're taking in this invasion. Days later, humanity is still mourning what they have lost, but they're still grateful for their heroes. Otherwise, it could have been much worse. The Sentry pulls a few strings, and Peter Parker especially is given a monument for his sacrifice that resulted in New York being saved. Cindy Moon is inspired by the conversation Peter had with her when Tad recruited them, about power and responsibility. She will devote herself to fighting crime, much like he did in the months after he got his powers. Even though Jessica Campbell isn't a mutant, Tad offers her a spot at Xavier's because he fears he's done damage to her brain in prematurely waking her up from her coma. As her family died in a car accident that granted her powers, she has nowhere to go, so she accepts. Although Tad was too zealous in waking Jessica up from her coma, he wants to practice using his telepathy to help others in the same way he heard Xavier did years earlier with Gabby Haller. Although Jessica was pretty upset at Tad endangering her like he did, she resolves to help him practice as he will help her recover from the damage he did. And that is actually not it. This is only the tip of the iceberg with stuff that went down with this alien invasion. But I'll have to get into all of that next time. For now, I hope you guys like this video. Spidey fans, I'm sorry, but he went out the same way he lived, getting blasted by an evil alien. Okay, no, too soon. I do hope you like this, and if you did, I've got others in this series. Go watch them all. I once again had a blast making this, so I hope you guys had a blast watching it. Until next time, have a good one.